where everybody was. There's no surprise.
No surprise.
We are live.
Okay, we're live. Senate Appropriations. It's February 27th. We are taking up some bills and taking a break from our budget presentations. We have S-173 and Senator Keisha Ram Hinsdale under the bill. And we'll hear Ledge Council.
Thank you. For the record, Senator Keisha Ram Hinsdale, representing our work on Senate Bill 173 from Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs. Might have also been the lead sponsor. I can't remember why I was uniquely invited. I don't even remember who's reporting it, honestly. It's Senator Weeks, but here I am. And we often try to do kind of a miscellaneous labor bill. You know, we aren't a money committee, but we do watch the health of the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund and the health of our workers' comp insurance system. And, you know, we try to also look at issues that arise in some number that it's worth taking another look at whether or not people are, if the system is healthy and working and people are getting the services that they're entitled to, or their payments on time was a big issue last year. So on some level, you know, the first part of the bill could have some financial impact to the employer community, and that meant we had a robust discussion about it, and we think it will achieve something, which is to try and make sure people know of their right to access vocational rehabilitation more proactively. So that's kind of the first part of the bill. And that, you know, led us to looking at what's happening with Voc Rehab. They've lost some funds in various programs that serve Vermonters' higher ability and others. They, you know, have some thoughts on how to make sure that people that our workers' comp system is working sufficiently, and that it, you know, they have the support they need to continue providing sustainable Voc Rehab services across the state. It's just kind of a dwindling resource, but we know that when someone does get Voc Rehab, they're able to re-enter the workforce more quickly or get a decently paying job if they have to completely switch career paths. And so, you know, that my chair loves a good study committee. So for a task force, maybe it's a working group. It's a working group. So it sounds like it's a small amount in terms of having one or two members that would not otherwise be doing it as part of their professional duties and would need a per diem.
Could be maybe the members that are
appointed.
The claimants, they might be needing it.
Yeah, so we did we did an interesting, I think this was Sophie's suggestion, that we have the director of workers' compensation, who's you know, a governor's employee, and then we have two representatives from each of three categories. And so the thought was the cleanest way to do that is to have each appointment come, one from the House, one from the Committee on Committees, for claimants, for insurance carriers and employers, and actual Voc rehabilitation counselors who I think get lost in the conversation but are now feeling like they need to have a voice in making sure the system works. And workers' comp essentially is supposed to be designed to rehabilitate someone, and, you know, vocational rehabilitation isn't something we've taken a hard look at in a while on committee.
Okay. And there's no limit. Sometimes we have a limit on the number of meetings. So that's not in here. Did you guys talk about that? Or?
It's 5.
Oh, it is 5?
Yeah, I was like, I know we had a discussion on it.
It's in the fiscal
Meetings.
see the report. See the compensation.
I think you could be right. I want to
Oh,
find.
no, it's in G at the very end. It's
Oh, okay.
for not more, they can meet more than 5 times, but they just only get paid for not more than 5.
Right.
So that limits working time.
So, I mean, this bill has passed separately from our other bills. I imagine you'll strip out the,
No, I think for this, I mean, with
you feel,
with
okay.
testimony from the Department of Labor, that they can fit this into their regular working budget. And there's not really an appropriation that we need to pull out.
Yeah, so if you're gonna hear from Dirk, then, any questions? Any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Do you want to state your name for the record and just say what you told us before we went live?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dirk Anderson, Director of Workers' Compensation, Vermont Department of Labor. The working group, consisting as it does of a few members from the public, are going to be entitled to a per diem and potentially mileage if they attend in person. Those are relatively minor costs that I can absorb into my budget. You know, a few $1,000s at the most, maybe less than $1,000. So I do not have any objection to a lack of other funding.
And the Department of Labor was supportive of a working group instead of just having the department do this work on their own.
We're supportive of the working group. We are primarily supportive of the underlying positive action that the bill takes in eliminating the initial screening of workers' comp claimants for voc rehab, because that's an extra step that workers sometimes get lost in the shuffle in. So that was our initial support of the bill. The working group got added. We did not object to that, and we can pay for it. So yes, I'm supportive.
Okay, well, thanks for being here. Any other comments or questions? Does Councilor Zutney have any comments or anything you want to point out that we might have missed or important for us to know?
Good afternoon, Sophie Zadatny for the Office of Legislative Counsel. Yes, I think most of this has been covered. So originally this was really dealing with vocational rehabilitation and removing the initial screening and then providing some other additional changes, but just to make sure that workers were informed of their right and that if their employer's carrier does not recommend them for a full assessment, then they can move forward with requesting vocational rehabilitation services. In the course of the testimony in front of Senate Economic Development, it was clear there are other issues with vocational rehabilitation services. And so at that point, Senate Economic Development felt that perhaps a working group to do a deeper dive and then come back with possible legislative recommendations down the road would be helpful. So the goal is really a summer committee, well, fall committee perhaps, starting in August, having a report in December, up to 5 meetings. It's reimbursement of expenses, not per diem. So maybe a bit cheaper for you.
Right.
And so that was the goal was, this was a fix to help address a problem right now, but there was a sense that there was more work that needs doing that could be done. And there was language added in. So there's a list of questions for the working group to look at. And one thing is also to look at how to make the system more cost effective. So it was to also incorporate input from the employer and the workers' comp carrier side, as well as just hearing from the individuals who represent workers' compensation claimants to make sure that whatever solutions are proposed, that they're thinking about the cost effectiveness of the system as a whole and not just a one-sided view.
Great. Sounds good. Well, if there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to pass the bill favorably.
So moved.
The clerk shall clerk away.
All right, S-173, Senator Baruth, Senator Brennan, yes. Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator Norris.
Yes.
Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Westman, Senator Perchlik.
Yes.
Great. Reporter.
Well, I think the Labor Relations Board is my area,
Yeah.
so which is
That's W-A-T.
So it's not, I mean, maybe somebody else has got economic development generally, but.
S-O-N.
Too late.
That's fine, but I do have a question, just want to clarify. So with the per diems, it's not per diems, it's reimbursements, or?
It was expense, yeah, just reimbursement of expenses.
Okay, so I
It'll definitely
should
be
not,
cheaper.
I shouldn't, oh, right, because it's compensation reimbursement,
Aren't they
so.
all state employees or?
No, I anticipate it would be a couple of individuals who represent employers and workers' compensation carriers, a couple of folks that represent workers' compensation claimants, and then a couple of vocational rehabilitation representatives who have first-hand experience. The current issue with the initial screening is that it's done by people in Dale, but who aren't familiar with workers' compensation. And so, again, there were just a lot of questions that were raised about the way the system currently operates.
So the expense is just mileage, basically, or like their lunch?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
You could look up 32 PSA 1010 and see what it says.
They may be motivated to get it done in fewer than 5 meetings.
Okay, I appreciate that distinction, expenses instead of per diem. Okay, thank you, Senator Watson, for reporting it. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So we can take up to 223. We already have the bill. Are you presenting this bill on the floor?
I will not be the one presenting it on the floor, but happy to speak to
You're
it.
the sponsor?
I was co-sponsored.
Okay.
It was just Senator Bongart's not.
Oh, right.
Though it'll be Senator Bongart's who reports it. Happy to jump in, if that's,
Yeah.
okay. So S223 is just a study bill. Now, to be fair, it is studying an issue that has been longstanding and I think really deserves this study. This is not the kind of situation where, you know, we could have or should have been doing, like acting on policy. This is a complicated situation that I think it deserves to be resolved by a group of stakeholders, which is why this bill exists. And so to get into what this is about, the Clean Water Act, I believe it is, requires that the state have a classification of waters, and that classification depends on the cleanliness of those waters or how pristine those waters are. And so A is the highest quality water that you can have, and then B is less than that, etc. But things are really just either A or B, is how it works. But and I think there might be like gradations of like B+, you know, something like that. But there's this stipulation with the classification that if you have class A waters, let's say, that comes with regulation. Like you can't develop in such a way that would pollute those waters so that it becomes more polluted than the threshold for A, if that makes sense. You can't degrade the waters. So this is it's an anti-degradation policy that goes along with this. And so Vermont, just by the way that it unfolded, most of Vermont's waters are Class B by default, though many of them could be Class A, but people are very hesitant to reclassify or go through the process of reclassifying waters because that comes with additional regulation. And fair enough, that's a sticky wicket. As I understand it, and Michael Grady would be able, if he was here, he'd be able to say this probably more cleanly, but my understanding is that the Agency of Natural Resources has been, they're supposed to come up with rules around the anti-degradation policy and reclassification of waters, and for 20 years has not.
Not
And
the
so-
rules at all.
Right, and so it's not even, yeah, right, like this is not like a Republican Democrat issue, like it has been a long-standing problem. And but there's also some instances where, so just as an example, this is probably more information than you need, but just as an example, there are some developments in the watersheds of these high-quality waters that are Class A. People want, and these houses, let's say, want to go in together on a collaborative wastewater system, but which would be better for the lake, but because it's 1,000 gallons and that's one of the thresholds, you can't, that kind of system would be prohibitive under these rules. So there's some reasons at this point to look at the rules. I think people want to both have the waters reclassified at their proper level. If they're high quality, we should reclassify them as the quality that they are, and we should figure out how to allow development in such a way that does not ultimately produce pollution. So there's a number of stakeholders that are in conversation about this, and it seems like there is progress that could be made on this front for hopefully both sides, so to speak. So the hope is that this study group will get folks together, find a path forward with some recommendations for regulation for an anti-degradation policy. So there we are. And so that's sort of the background of what's happening in this bill. And so there's 11 members. There are 2 senators and 2 representatives on it. And a number of people from industry and advocates, et cetera. And so all that we are looking at in terms of financial implications here is the per diems, which we do have a fiscal note on that, and
14,000.
it's 14,000.
What is the per diem? Does anybody here know? Is the same per diem that we get? Like whatever that is?
No.
Looks like
69, it's a different per diem.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is?
$50.
$50 for
Still $50.
we get like 2/3 of a day going
I
out.
know.
Okay.
So that's the study group.
Yeah, and I was just looking through here about the last bill that we talked about this. It's the same statutory reference, 321010. I don't really see where it says right in the statute, $50. But I don't really see the difference where it talks about expenses.
Oh, like reimbursements?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it has that, does it?
Oh, in this bill?
Yeah, does it?
No,
Well, this bill says per diem, doesn't say
Right.
per diem and expenses as per 321010.
Oh, it does say reimbursements and expenses.
And so, but what I'm just wondering in the last bill that we just passed, where it said reimbursement of expenses, but it said reimbursement of expenses as allowed in 1010, 32 VSA 1010.
Is that only for legislators, the reimbursement maybe?
No, this
No, or is it everything?
VSA 321010 is for all boards. Any board there's a whole list of boards, and then there's any boards that has been granted per diems by the General Assembly.
So the people representing business development who isn't part of their regular job.
Yeah, it talks
They
about
get that.
yeah. But it doesn't really talk about expenses per se. But separate question, I guess.
Are we doing any questions?
Yes,
I
question?
mean, it's not, it's policy.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
how sometimes we feel about that here.
Yeah,
but
no, we can ask those.
I'm just
questions.
wondering what the benefit from somebody that was, well, most of them are classified in the B area. What benefit do they get by being brought up to the A, other than it could hinder or limit development?
Just protection of the quality of the lake. Yeah. So it keeps it high quality.
And it's all lakes, Lake Champlain, I would
Ooh,
assume.
that's a good question. I'm not sure about Lake Champlain. That would be a good Michael Grady question.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't
He's on
know.
his way.
I have to ask that question because
Yeah.
I have nothing but lakefront.
That's fair.
Right, yeah.
I'm not sure.
don't know why it wouldn't be, because it's
Interstate.
interstate.
Yeah.
Here
Oh,
he is.
and here he is.
Saved by the bell.
Good question for you.
You can join us here, there's a question already for you.
I'll let you put your books down first. Relax. I was just asking if Lake Champlain is encompassed in this.
In class B or class A, or neither.
Anti-degradation.
Yeah,
Yes, the short answer is
Yeah.
yes.
okay.
Because, they're state waters, and they fall underneath the state's water quality standards. And so in order to manage to those standards, you have to classify those, they're all class B,
They're all class B at
pretty
this
much,
point?
yeah.
And can I ask another?
Yeah.
What do they have to do to, be brought up to class A? Is it water testing or?
Yeah, well, there's partly water testing and some of the standards are also narrative, such as aesthetics, that's something you don't necessarily measure.
We don't have any at this point?
We have class A waters,
We do?
yes, but there's many waters that qualify for class A
Oh, that's why we're here.
Right.
that are not being
Okay.
reclassified, and part of that is why,
Okay.
part of the study is why.
Add a follow-up question to that. My guess is that Lake Champlain is not one of the bodies of water that would potentially be eligible for reclassification to A.
Well, right now it's in impairment stage.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the first goal for that is to come up to class B standards.
So it's not even class B.
Right,
Okay.
but it's impaired.
That's not good.
I mean, it is classified as class B, but it's not meeting those standards, so you have to bring it back.
Senator Norris?
Yes. Every time we deal with one of these A&R regulations or rules or whatever else, there's an impact to landowners, anybody else. There's gonna be some new rules, regulations, cost. How is this gonna affect landowners if in fact we move all these, or portion of these waters up to say class A? Camps on the lake and whatever else. I mean,
Well, I do think if you move a water to class A, there could be additional considerations that A&R has to take into place for the use of land. That I can't say exactly what they're going to do, but I also can't say that it never will happen. It could happen that the use, you wouldn't put, say, a coal pit next to a class A water, because the runoff from that would turn that class A water into well below class B quickly. So, I mean, there's criteria, considerations you have to take to maintain the quality of that water.
so I'm just looking at Franklin County. A lot of dairy farms up there, a lot of tributaries, rivers and so on and so forth. Is this gonna take it one step above? Okay, once a lake is classified as class A, and all of a sudden as to where they happen to spread their manure or whatever else. Is there gonna be limitations on the tributaries, on the rivers? There's gonna be an effect on it, Mike. There's gonna be a cost effect to us. I think we all realize this.
Well, I don't want to overstate this point, and so I would have to condition it on me confirming, but I don't think any of the waters in Franklin County, major waters in Franklin County, are Class A eligible, but I have to confirm that.
Because this appears to be a study group, but they're gonna come out with findings and so on and so forth, and then go back to A&R and say, okay, this is what we need to have done, recommendations to A&R.
But yes, I mean, the recommendations from the study group are both legislative, potentially legislative and regulatory rules. Because right now, in order to reclassify water, you have to go through rulemaking.
If I can add to,
Please do.
right now, the situation is if they get reclassified as class A, the rules are such that it's pretty problematic for the folks that are there. And I think part of the goal here is to find solutions for that work for the developments that are in Class A waters.
You can develop in Class A waters.
Yeah.
You
That
can.
makes it more difficult. Is the entire watershed for that?
Well, that's partly one of the things you have to take into account is the use gonna potentially degrade the Class A water, use further up in the watershed. Use the coal pit as an example. You don't want acid mine drainage going into Class A water. So, I mean, that's part of the consideration. It's part of what they're supposed to be doing right now. But it's not transparent that they are, because there is what's called the anti-degradation policy. And that policy is you manage a water to protect its current condition or quality. And so you don't allow uses that let it degrade. And that's what they're supposed to be doing now. And so, but they don't have a rule for how they're implementing that policy. They have been told to do a rule by statute since I think I started here in 2004, and they haven't adopted that rule. So how are they have a policy, which they say is enough, and which they say that they do. It's not transparent how they do it.
And where does the rubber hit the road on this one? Somebody apply for an Act 250 permit or even like a local zoning?
It's usually just the A&R permit, the A&R discharge permit. It can get brought into Act 250 if you were in an Act 250 triggering development. The cumulative impacts analysis includes a general valuation of the effect of the development on water. And so they would look at that.
So a discharge permit, that's like any wastewater?
But they would say, oh, this is a Class A water. What is the runoff? What is the discharge? Will have an effect on the headwater of the Class A water, because those are all criteria in the water.
But if it's a homeowner, just like building or second house or like building a garage, would they need to get a A&R permit?
So if you're just an individual home, an individual structure builder, you usually don't trigger Act 250 unless you're in a 1 acre town. Let's just say we're not in a 1 acre town. Usually all you need is your well and your wastewater permit and your local zoning and municipal permit. And your local zoning and municipal permit, they have ability to adopt shorelands bylaws, buffer bylaws, wetlands bylaws. That's what you would need to comply with.
But if the local entity didn't have those, A&R, when they get their wastewater permit, they would?
A&Rs and their wastewater permit, they have standards in their rules about siting already within a distance of certain waters.
So are you saying that, if a municipality has planning and zoning and they've gotten the permits from that and actually have, it doesn't matter probably, but stormwater, sewer and everything, do they still need A&R to weigh in on that project?
If you're not triggering any of A&R's permits, you don't need A&R approval.
Or Act 250?
For Act 250. And so one of the things that A&R does have a permit for, if you're gonna disturb a half an acre or more of land, and that's just like earth disturbance, it's like, you're probably gonna do that when you're constructing one structure.
Yeah.
But what you need to do is just put in stormwater management control measures, and there's a general permit for that. You don't even need to apply for that permit. You just need to do what it says and then notify A&R that you are doing what it says underneath that permit.
So they're gonna come and inspect it afterwards, or?
They have authority to inspect. But you've all seen what
what that requirement is. It's the orange fences, it's the hay bales, it's the big black felt logs. You know, that's the kind of thing that you do to control the runoff when you're disturbing a half acre.
So what agency issues the AC permits for your septic system?
What agency? A&R,
ANR.
the Department of Environmental Conservation, Groundwater and Wastewater Division.
So that's where this would, when they go to issue the wastewater permit, they might say like, well, how far are you away from this?
That's another division, that's the Water Quality Division. They have, I mean, they have the water quality standards, and you have to meet the water quality standards, and there are, depending on what you're discharging, what comes into play and what goes in your permit. If you're gonna be discharging certain types of contaminants.
It's just household septic system.
Household septic system, that's already, there's rules already for that.
But do they look at the degradation rule? Do they think, well, you're 50 feet from this pond is a class A?
So they are set up in a way, the current wastewater and water to basically comply with water quality laws for anti-degradation. There are some provisions written into statute that you can't have a system that's more than 6,500 gallons per day that's located within a class A, and that is
100 feet within a certain distance,
I can't remember exactly.
but it's some 50, 100, whatever.
Right. But that is something that A&R has been seeking to eliminate, and part of their logic is once you eliminate that, it'll be easier to reclassify Class B to Class A because you won't have certain limitations on development, and the A&R can establish conditions in permitting that would achieve similar or greater benefits as the 6,500 limitation. I mean, that's an argument, and other people said, well, but you'll be able to build X amount of units, and how are you going to ensure that it meets the same? I mean, it's a debate.
Yeah. Well, that's what we do here.
Good, bad, or indifferent?
Any other questions for
I just want to say, nothing regulatory or binding comes from the study. You would have to act, or the agency would have to go to rulemaking.
This is get more information.
Yeah.
Try to break the logjam. that we're
Right,
on.
it's really to bring stakeholders together to see what compromise or progress can be made, for everybody's ends, so.
I'm remembering Bill Bartlett and David Dean and me.
And there's House members, there's Senate members, which I should remember speaker and committee on committees, and the other members, there's some appointed by the governor.
One, Federation of Lakes and Ponds.
Yeah.
So how would this affect the townships that do have the 1 acre rule, which my hometown does?
So you're potentially Act 250 jurisdiction, unless you're exempt, you're engaging in development, then you're in Act 250, and then part of the cumulative impacts analysis, they're going to look at your impact on water. Okay, thank you.
And they're doing that now.
Yeah,
That just wouldn't change.
right, exactly. And you know, you're in Franklin, right? You're not in, apparently the Act 250 coordinator up there is like the star of the show and works really well with people. And I was gonna say,
We do that well in Franklin County. We work with people now. So we don't dictate what they should be
I
doing.
can't remember her name, but she's pretty well respected.
Okay. Well, if there's no other questions on the bill, I'd like the committee to consider an amendment that I had Mr. O'Grady draft. And even though the cost is only $14,000, I think it's best practice for the committee that we pull the money out of pull the appropriation out of the bill. And then we can look at all appropriations, whether they're $14,000 or $400,000 together. And when we're looking at the budget, we try to find this 14,000 to put back in there. So did you send the different one?
So I did send, I think I sent it to you and Al. Did you get it?
Yes.
There were two versions. There's the one that does just a simple contingency. The whole thing doesn't go forward unless there's money for it. But I also wrote one that just kills the compensation and reimbursement, but lets the committee go forward.
What did you think about that the law requires them to get paid? Do you think that's?
Well, that's.
Can we just say they don't get paid even though?
You can say that, yeah.
We said notwithstanding that they get paid, they're not gonna get paid.
They're not gonna get paid. I mean, your predecessor did that pretty regularly.
Right. So notwithstanding that
Yeah,
32 VSA 1010,
you don't get
if
any
there's not an
money.
appropriations, they won't get any.
Right,
And they can decide whether they want to do it without the appropriation or not.
yeah.
Right. And is there a reason that we wouldn't do it that way? That you could think of?
I'm not paying people for being on a, I think it also depends on the type of board. There may be members that, you know, it's difficult for them to participate in a task force or something, so you would want to compensate them.
Right.
I don't know if that's the case in this situation.
But I guess you'd have to tell them, like, we're appointing you this board, but right now there's no money for it. So you're not gonna get your $50 in mileage. Because that's what they would be getting, $50.
Can I make a proposal
Yeah.
about that? I would propose that we, go with the version where it just takes out the money and we have the conversation together with the budget about whether or not we want to include it. And then if we don't include it in the budget, that as a part of the budget, we amend the bill to say, you can still do this, but you.
I like this suggestion.
So
You're not gonna get.
Can we put can you put them up on the screen so we can see the language?
Sure. I don't know if the first one I sent you is there.
Do you want both?
It would be good to see both if we can.
Elle, I was just seeing the one, do we,
They should both be up now.
Oh,
You can
okay,
reload.
oh, I see it.
Under Michael's name. I have draft 3.1. And then,
Both, did you reload it? Second amendment is the new one,
Where's the other one?
right there.
That's the bill.
Oh, it's in the other one.
That's the bill. This amendment is the one, so there's this contingency funding, which just says, the duty to implement section 1 shall be contingent upon an appropriation.
Right, and that's the default that we're using for, that Brendan JFO came up with
Right.
to basically stop the funding until you go through the process.
They could still do it without being told to do it, I guess, but the duty for whoever's in charge of doing the committee, which I assume is DC.
A&R calls the first meeting, and then the body, the group elects a chair from the legislative leaders. And then the basically ledge council and A&R run the working group.
I guess when we take away the duty to do it without appropriation, they could still go ahead and meet. There wouldn't be anything
They
prohibiting
could,
them, but they just couldn't get any per diem or expenses.
they could. The question would be whether or not you would have any duty to appoint anyone.
Yeah, we wouldn't,
Right.
I guess, or, because section 1 includes all of that.
Right.
appointing people, the meeting, the
Mhm.
structure, the goals.
Yeah.
Section 1 is basically the whole bill.
Yeah.
Like without section 1, so there's all the duties to do section 1 would be removed.
Mhm.
So you can remove the duties to do it, say it's contingent on appropriation, or you can just say we're removing the appropriation. If you remove their appropriation, they could still, just basically saying they'll still be appointed,
Mhm, mhm.
they could still meet, they still have to do a report, but they won't get any money. So they would have, so, but I think in the past, I don't know if there's been complaints about it, but I think CFOs or budget councils.
I am sharing though the original one right now.
Okay. Sometimes their concern is that's not as straightforward maybe, it's like, okay, here's all the stuff you gotta do. But you only have to, you won't get any money for it, but we're still like.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
So this is just the required payment is contingent upon an appropriation. So the rest of sec 1 would go forward. But then the second one is that the entire duties,
Right.
sec 1.
oh, so if we go with this language, the appointment will still all happen.
The appointments would still all happen.
Yeah, this is the required payment. So this one has basically section 1 still happening,
Right.
but there's no payment. And the other option is section 1 is basically, you don't have to do anything in section 1 unless there's a payment. And if there's a payment, then you don't have to go back and fix it, because by paying it, you're enacting section 1. If that makes sense.
Mhm. I mean,
So, no, I was just gonna say, this one is good, because suppose we put in less than $14,000, they could decide to meet fewer times, or something like that.
I mean, that's a good point. It goes towards Senator Watson's point. You can take everything out now and then revisit in the appropriations bill if you want to just take away some of the payments, some of the meetings, et cetera.
Yeah.
Right, and you could,
Because you've had study groups that meet their meeting total for compensation and then just keep on meeting.
I know, sometimes you don't need to be.
right,
well, and I think the deadline for this bill, the report back is actually relatively
December.
quick.
December.
Yeah, so they're gonna have to get after it.
That's a lot of meetings. That's a lot of meetings.
For that amount of.
Yeah, really.
well, as the sponsor of the bill, Senator Watson, do you have a recommendation on the amendment?
I mean, my sense is to, well, actually, I guess I have a question. So if we went with this language, do you implement decision what is that?
And do we have to have the notwithstanding language?
This is the section 8, section 1 stops, the all of section 1. That's what this.
Oh, yeah, this
This
is,
one stops all of section 1. I
yeah,
was,
so do you want to show her?
Yeah.
This is the
oh,
other.
okay, I was, yes, so this is the required payment.
I mean,
For this one, do you want the notwithstanding?
it's worthwhile to put notwithstanding in there. You don't necessarily need it because the legislative intent is clear that they're not gonna get paid. But if you wanna take away that question, you would put the notwithstanding in there.
Just at the beginning, you say notwithstanding 32,
Yeah,
10,
notwithstanding, yeah.
the required payment.
I think my sense is to go with this language, and I would like for it to be considered as a part of the budget.
Yeah.
And I think that also gives me some time to check in with the rest of the, well, with Senator Bongart's also a
Right.
prime sponsor of this bill, to see what sort of flexibility he has, a sense of, but would love to at least preserve the possibility that they get paid.
I think there's some value in that, especially for this kind of group. I think some groups we wouldn't want to meet, so we wouldn't want to do it. We're also trying to have the same language every time, but I think in this case, this is okay with me, to allow them to meet if they wanna meet. We don't come up with the 14, or we only have $10,000 at the end of the day. We just have to remember
Yeah,
that we would want to change, not only put it in the budget, but we might need, if we're gonna change kind of their structure, we'd have to put that in the budget too.
sure. Or the number of meetings.
Right, something like
Yeah.
that. Cause you didn't have a number of meetings.
I think we
Eight,
did.
says
Oh,
eight.
no, it does,
Yeah.
eight.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so is that a motion, Senator Watson, to amend the bill and pass favorably with this amendment?
And
Yes,
you
it
want the
is.
notwithstanding language.
I think ideally,
Sure.
just so it's not, there's no argument about it.
So together with notwithstanding.
Just put notwithstanding in front of that. Is that something you could just print out right now?
Yeah, I can go do it right now.
Okay. Well, does anybody have questions on what this amendment is? Like Grady's printing it up. Do you feel that you could vote on the bill and with this amendment?
Thank you.
I think we can kick the amendment around. Good thing it's not a large amount of money.
Yeah, right, yeah. Well, that's usually the way it happens.
I still need a little discussion on this, so Mike was saying that there's, somebody's supposed to be doing this already,
Yes.
but they're not, so now we're coming up with a bill here. And with all due respect to the presenter of the bill and the author of the bill, we're getting inundated with half-baked bills up in Franklin County already between the wetlands and the road lengths and whatever else, and I just don't feel comfortable on the bill itself, and it could be a perfectly good bill, don't get me wrong. I don't feel comfortable supporting the bill, and I'll tell you that.
Well, that's okay, and you can do two things as far as the vote in here, which is supposed to be mostly about the appropriations of the bill, which we're taking out. You could vote no, because the bill offends your senses, or
I
you
don't
could
feel
say,
comfortable with the bill, I'm not saying I dislike it in its entirety.
right,
I'm all about clean water, it's not what I'm saying, I can just
No,
feel
no, I
the
get-
regulations and
yeah.
more rules coming down the road
But
here.
you could say, I'm gonna vote for the bill to get it out of appropriations because we took the money out and this is what we're doing here, but I'm not voting for, or I'm not committing to voting on the floor. Don't get my yes vote to get the bill out of the committee as I'm supporting the bill. Sometimes people say that. I've said that before in here. Like, I'm voting to get it out on appropriating it, but I'm gonna vote no for it on the floor.
So we are gonna appropriate the money, we're gonna pull it out.
We're gonna pull the money.
Pulling the money out.
Okay. I can go that route.
Okay. And yeah, and you can vote however you want. I just want to make sure people feel comfortable with what we're voting on without, we're just seeing the language on the screen and not seeing it in front.
So we're voting on pulling the appropriations out and setting the bill to the floor.
Or the required payment will be pulled out. So
Okay.
they could still meet, but there's no guarantee they'll get their per diem. So that's $14,000.
And my yes vote is not in support necessarily of the bill in general.
Right, just about pulling out the appropriations.
I can do that.
And passing the bill.
Sure, and agreeing that the group should be appointed.
Just that the bill should pass, so which means that there's a group being created.
Yeah.
But there's not gonna be any appropriation.
No, you just confused me.
You had them, you
You
know.
had me. And passing the bill, you said.
Well, passing the bill out of committee, so, I mean, moving the bill to the floor, not passing the bill to the Senate. And the motion is to pass it out favorably,
With no monies.
with no money.
Taking the money out
But you're still
and
passing
passing
the bill.
the language of the bill,
Right,
You're still passing the bill.
yeah.
where
We're
you're
passing
sending
it
it to the full Senate for consideration.
That would be nice.
And you can consider it on the floor of the Senate. Anytime you want.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
I can compromise.
Okay. So, the way I understand it, there's a motion on the floor for Senator Watson to pass the bill favorably as amended
Yeah.
with this contingency language on
And the
screen,
notwithstanding.
which will add the notwithstanding
Yeah.
language to the law saying that they shall be paid.
Mhm.
We're making it clear that they won't get paid. Okay, so is there any other questions? Questions of the presenter of the amendment?
No, I'm gonna go with, passing it out, about not necessarily in support of the bill on the floor.
Okay,
Sure.
you can
Need more
say,
discussion on it.
you could say yes or no with explanation and then give a speech.
Right now?
Journalize it.
No.
No, let's just do yes or no. Okay. Senator Baruch, Senator Brennan, yes, Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator Norris,
Yes, without explanation.
perfect. Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Westman, Senator Perchlik.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, yep.
I can't present that.
Yeah, it's like, you got it. You can do this
Are
one.
you, but you're not the presenter on. 'cause
I am not the
I think-
presenter.
I'd like it better when you're not presenting.
you're
both
just reporting for
two
appropriations.
committees.
Right.
But we made you do the,
Okay,
since Baumgart's is presenting the bill.
Yeah.
makes sense that you present it from here. And once we get the amendment in, I'll take a quick look at it, make sure Grady didn't trick us. Okay, with that, we can move back
Years and
to
years and years.
fiscal year 27 budget presentation. So Commissioner Sampson, if you want to join us, and
Hopefully they.
you can have, others can either join you up there, or you can. Thank you for joining us, welcome,
Thanks
and
for
I'll let
having
you introduce yourself to the record and give us your presentation.
Yep, Kai Sampson, Commissioner of Department of Financial Regulation.
David Cameron, Administrative Services Director for the Department of Financial Regulation.
We're here to present our budget.
And do you know people around the room? Would you like to do introductions?
So Valenti is our Director of Policy, and we probably have a couple or all of our deputies online. So Aaron Ferentz is the Banking Deputy, Amanda Smith is the Securities Deputy, Christine Brown is the Captain's Deputy.
Okay, and do you know the senators here?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
So, and Joe will be, there it is, wonderful, thank you, Joe. You're driving today?
Yes.
Okay. So, in summary, first page there, or slide 2, we're up 2.9% this year. Almost, 86% is in salaries and benefits of the increase. Overall, the total budget is 83% in salaries and benefits. It's essentially a level service budget, so we're not proposing or funding any new programs or initiatives. This is just continuing doing what we're doing is what you see in this budget. Other highlights are we've relaunched our financial literacy grant program. We're authorized in statute to collect up to 15% of enforcement actions against regulated entities to be deposited into a special fund, which we can use for 2 things: restitution, which is very legally prescribed, and we've been able to provide several $100,000 of restitution over the last several years to folks that have a valid claim against a regulated entity that is not able to provide the compensation ordered. And then the other piece of that fund, which we're in the middle of now, is grant review now, or application review, is grants for financial services education and kind of anti-fraud education, that sort of thing. So we have, Joe actually is on the team that is looking at applicants there. So that's just a nice note there that we've had that grant program authority, and we're able to kind of relaunch that. And by April, I believe, Joe, we will be awarding some of those grants up to $50,000 per entity. So those are going to Vermont nonprofits, but schools, nonprofits, et cetera, can apply for a grant in those areas. And that's an important part of our mission, obviously, is not just regulating financial services, but empowering Vermonters to navigate that world, because it can be a scary and dangerous world.
And maybe you're gonna do this later, which you don't have to answer now, but on that first sheet, you had the challenges. And I wondered if you could say kind of what the salaries, what do you mean when you say salaries and benefits are a challenge?
That's a big piece of our budget. So, keeping up with that, keeping up with the industry. So,
is there like a recruitment problem? Like it's hard.
We do have some recruitment. I don't say problems, but challenges.
Yeah. Okay.
So, we do compete directly in terms of salary with the industries that we regulate. So when you're looking at people with actuarial knowledge, CPAs for a lot of our exam functions, and combining that with knowing insurance or securities or banking, specialized fields with not the largest talent pool in Vermont. So it's about recruiting people into Vermont or recruiting people away from generally higher paying jobs in the industries that we regulate.
So that salary, the challenges of salary and benefits does connect with recruiting and finding, recruiting and retention.
Yeah.
So you probably have to get some people and train them and then they go off to private entity where they can make more money.
Right. Yeah, that happens. And then, you know, sometimes we're able to recruit back or recruit from those same entities. You know, yeah.
And IT modernization challenges is just, is that the cost? I'm assuming that.
Yeah, not in this budget, but, you know, we are behind on certain areas. So we have kind of discovery projects at this point with ADS. So it's something we'll have to, you know, once things are priced out, you know, we'll see how we'll go about funding them. But we need to upgrade some of our licensing databases, and I think document management is a big challenge for us. So all those things are in early stage exploration with ADS. What the price tag will be, it's kind of an anticipated challenge for us.
Because I saw the ADS fees jumped, but your SLA was down, but I think that we've seen in another place, is that part of just the regular ADS reorg, or is it something else?
Correct, yeah, yes. As you probably know, they've changed the way they're charging departments.
Right. So it's not something you guys did?
No. Yeah, and then also mentioned on that slide is that I hadn't touched on is we are kind of our footprint and overall leased space charges have gone down year over year. So
is your office still in the city center? Is that
yep.
right?
Declaration of policy. You might be used to seeing mission and vision, et cetera, in some of these presentations. I really like what's in statute for us. I think and I put it in this slide deck, it encapsulates what our obligations and goals are with individual entities, the markets themselves, and then that second piece, the consumer protection and education. So I really like our declaration of policy. I think there's no need for me to, you know, as a department, get too much deeper into vision and mission statements because, you know, it might not be the most flowery, but it's all the points of what we try to do as a department. The organizational chart just shows you, obviously it's not everyone, we have 110 positions in the department, but it shows you, you know, from a divisional point of view, how we're organized. Is the 11 still accurate?
Yeah, check.
Yeah. Although we have a retirement today, so. But yeah, so we're about 10% vacant at this point versus a budgeted vacancy rate of 6.5%. So, you know, all of those are either being recruited or being RFR'd or, you know, reviewed.
You have some room within your budget that you don't have to keep them open to meet your budget.
No, I think we'll be fine there. We'll hit our vacancy savings budget for sure. But we need to fill those positions.
Yeah.
When we're talking staff, we always like to look at our engagement survey results. As we always have, many of you may know I'm deputy commissioner here prior to being away from the department for 8 years, but back then I remember as well that we always did very well relative to the state average in terms of engagement survey results. So that you can see here, we do have a very engaged team. I think one of the reasons for that is that the work we do in any of the divisions is it's pretty easy for anyone in the department to understand how what they do either impacts Vermonters, consumers, or the insurance industry or the captive industry. I think the work is very tangible, and you know, it's part of what brought me back to state government. the impact we're having on both the markets and consumers it's not a difficult thing to explain, I think.
Well, yeah, you're to be commended for these numbers. And it's sign of the leadership there.
Yeah, I agree. And just tenure, at all levels of the department, not just the leadership, but we have a good, coming back again after 8 years. It's amazing how many people are the same and still have a lot of energy and enjoy their job.
And this was last fall. Is that when the survey goes out?
This was earlier. This was before the return to office.
That's what I was gonna. I didn't know. And how is that affecting just operations? I don't know about morale, but
yeah, I would say we probably have the same challenges that with some people, just with their the lifestyle and routines that they've built, adapting to this. But overall, I don't know how those numbers would change, but when we do, it's important to note that we do have a good sizable contingent of examiners that are work from home examiners, always have been. So that portion of our staff was not impacted by return to office.
Okay.
And maintaining our staff.
Okay.
The next slide shows you'll see 2 slides, who we regulate and how we regulate. This is not an all-inclusive list, but just gives you an idea among the 4 divisions, kind of the volume of different licensees. There's entity licenses in here, and then of course individual licensees. A couple things that jump out probably would be a question, so I'll preempt them as, do we really need 155,000 broker dealers in Vermont? Well, we don't have 155,000 broker dealers in Vermont, but we have 155,000 authorized to do that in Vermont. And that and the next column over, agents and adjusters. When you have national companies in these regulated areas, they're going to license their entire staff in all 50 states. And so a small state like that, like Vermont, benefits from that. And,
because there's a fee per
individual. So from a compliance point of view, if you work for a national insurance company that, does the business of insurance on the phone, you're just going to register or license your entire phone staff. You're not going to say, oh, it's Vermont, let me have you talk to Mr. Perchlik, because those attempts have been tried in the past, and then there's non-compliance and it costs them more. So anyway, that's just an explanation as to why we have, 1/3 of what looks like 1/3 of the Vermont population registered as insurance agents. I'm sure the market is not that robust, but yeah. Captive, you see captive insurance in there as well. That continues to grow at a steady pace in terms of active licenses and continues to be a good contributor.
And Vermont is still considered the #1 state for captive insurance?
Yeah, domicile, yes, yeah.
And the Caribbean, wasn't there some efforts by some Caribbean nations?
Bermuda, Cayman are still trending and competition, if you will. Many states have tried to duplicate what Vermont has in terms of competitive position as a domicile. I think we have scale and history and reputation that is really hard to replicate from scratch. So we kind of enjoy, there's many reasons I think we maintain that position as a sought after domicile. And it's not because we're weakly regulated. We're actually very truly, it's a place people want to be because of our regulatory reputation in an alternative insurance market. And that remains true. And so we're still, we still lose folks to other domiciles. That there can be political reasons why a company says, oh, I really got to domicile my captive in a state where I have more connections, et cetera. But Vermont has the infrastructure, the knowledge base, and the reputation. So we don't see any major threats on the horizon there.
Okay, good.
So that's kind of who we regulate, and then the next slide is how we regulate. Again, this is not everything, but it shows you what we do. Insurance filings review, we call that rate forms. So all rates and forms, being policy forms, get reviewed for compliance. And then, on the rate side, of course, except for health insurance rates that are with the Green Mountain Care Board. But other than that, we're looking at all other insurance rates and forms, examinations. That's going to be both on the captive end, the insurance end, but also kind of market conduct activity and examinations in securities and banking divisions. What else jumps out there? Consumer appeals and consumer inquiries and consumer complaints. That's an area, you've got 5-year average numbers there, but we do a lot, in banking and securities and insurance to work directly with consumers that call in and have questions or complaints. And that does feed a lot of our market conduct activities. So we can pick up on patterns there and launch a market conduct exam and deal with some of these issues systemically if there's a kind of specific company or systemic violation of several companies.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Commissioner, so I have a question for our counselor O'Grady. If you have somewhere else to go, or if you're willing to wait for this, but we have the amendment for the bill, and we can just look at it, and we can contact you if we have any questions.
Great, thank you.
Okay. I want to keep you if we don't need to. Okay.
And so, I was talking about market conduct activities. You see a figure in here for enforcement, 2.3 million. Is that a 1 year or prior year number, Dave?
That was 1 year.
Yeah. So we're pretty active in enforcing our laws, again, in all areas, whether it be banking, insurance, or securities. And that 2.3 million, that's kind of the bucket that some of the money can go into that education and restitution fund, which is at about $400,000 or $500,000 now. Fund. Yeah.
Do you do any like business development kind of work? Like, is any of the consumer inquiries? I wouldn't call it consumer inquiry. Like, if somebody says like, I want to start a business that would be regulated by your agency, did you ever get those kind of calls?
We do, yeah. And then we have to kind of be careful not to cross that line where we're giving them advice, right?
So you would send them to economic development or somewhere else?
Yeah, or most of the time it's to an attorney, a regulatory attorney, who can help them navigate it. We're very available. I'd say probably more available than most state departments just because of our size and the way Vermont does business to talk people through what it would take, to get started in one of these areas. Captives is a little different, right? They work with ACCD. They have a dedicated person for economic development over in that's Brittany Nevins over in ACCD. And, captives, because it is not consumer facing, it is not consumer direct, it's very much a business to business thing. There is more guidance and development there. So you do see more overlap of business development and working with folks who want to set up a captive. Certainly don't see that as much in our regulated areas. The next slide shows the DFR revenue, so fees and licensing fees, et cetera, collected by DFR, registration fees, tax revenue, which we're not taking credit for the tax revenue here, but this is the tax revenue associated with the different industries we regulate, and then our expenditures. So really the first and third column, the net of that is what we cost to operate and what we bring in terms of revenue, which then makes its way to the general fund through direct ask. Yeah. And that's, of course, as it says, fiscal year 25.
Yeah, mostly coming from insurance and securities.
Yes. Yeah, mutual fund fees, I think, were a big one in securities. Insurance is a lot of those 250,000 licensed agents and adjusters. This is just, you know, a slide to highlight the multi-state, affiliations we have. My background's in insurance, so I'm very familiar with the NAIC. We recently, you know, that's basically 50 states and 6 jurisdictions, the US territories working together. You know, we're unique. State is the primary regulator for insurance, unlike securities and banking where you have more split regulation. So the insurance model of regulation is very different and requires kind of intense cooperation and coordination with all the other states, and that really happens through the NAIC. And they also accredit us, so we have to get essentially a peer review every 5 years. And happy to say we just completed that and received our 5-year accreditation in December, and very much kind of an error-free accreditation. So there were no actions for us to take, and having been through 2 or perhaps 3 in my prior role at the department, I think this was the first time that we got through that accreditation without any significant comments whatsoever. So, and we see here also continue to be ranked #1 captive domicile. There's different publications and organizations that provide that. And banking, we're part of CSDS, NASCUS is securities. So that's our pat ourselves on the back slide.
Good.
And budget overview, maybe I'll let you
Sure.
get to that one.
Yeah, this is, so as you can tell, this is our 27 ask by major object code. But I think this is a good place to kind of stop and see how you'd like to proceed, because as you see, the rest of it is the ups and down sheets, and I'm not sure you want to go through that line by line, but
We don't,
yeah.
especially today.
We've done this before.
But if there's anything in there, like your vacancies is a little different, but if there's anything in here you would, that we might see later and go, well, oh, I should have asked about that. Is there anything out of the ordinary?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward. The only thing, you might,
Like, why was other personal services?
correct, so that'd be the one,
$300,000?
so that's when we get a position. When we get a position, finance management gives us spending authority in the other personal services line until the position's created. So what you're seeing here
They
is,
let you hire somebody before the position's created?
I'm sorry,
They let you hire somebody before the position's created?
no, they don't. So they give us the money, that's how it's put in our budget for spending authority.
Oh, they just put it in their
Yeah,
personal services?
yeah,
Until
our
it
base
gets-
budget.
I see.
And then when the position's created, then it goes into the salary line item. So what you're seeing there is we've created the position, so now the money is going from the other personal services line to the salary line. So it's really a net zero.
Right. And why don't they just put it in your salary and wages? I guess they don't put it in there until they
They
know.
don't put it in until
There's
there's a
some,
position created.
okay. I'm not gonna try to figure that out. Why?
Maybe so
Amy
they
will
can
tell me later.
maybe they can reconcile their personnel records to the budget somehow.
Yeah,
Or their HR systems.
right. Those people in HR.
But I do believe that would be the only one that kind of.
Yeah, it seems like the only big one.
Other than the rent being negative instead of,
And why was the rent negative?
because we gave up some space at City Center. It's been
Even with the returned office?
yeah, it's been a 2 or 3 year long process that we've been consolidating our space, and we finally completed that in October, I think is when we did.
Did we end up with a better per square foot?
We did, BGS negotiated a better per square foot rate for us as well.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, you're under the governor's 3% target and doing good work, so I don't, as long as the direct app keeps coming over.
Understood. Yeah.
Any other questions or anything else you want to tell us about your work?
That works for me.
Excellent. Well, great. Well, thanks a lot for your time.
Yeah, thank you for your support.
And Al, can you put up that Grady amendment? I want the committee just to see that, to make sure we see the language. Same place. That looks wide.
It's not the same thing we got already?
Oh, let's see.
Oh, this is the
Looks the same.
adjusted language.
This is the adjustment language.
It's the same ones they got on their cars out
I
there.
guess it is, yeah. It just looks, when it's clean.
It's got a brand new clean plate, I guess. Well, it's supposed to be something special or something. Well, it is.
That is
Send it
special.
20 on there.
How did you get that?
Yeah,
Who told us we could order that? Get one free plate there.
when the Sergeant Arms was in.
Is that the
Yeah.
commemorative?
No, it's
Is
the
that the
same plate
commemorative?
whether you put it on your car or not, but she said she'll give it to you.
You get
even
one
if you
free.
don't wanna put it on
Oh, I'm
your
gonna
plate.
tell her.
Right.
Oh, I should get one to put on the wall.
I know,
Yeah,
so let's
definitely.
all march
I'll
down
give this
there
to the
after
wife. I got so many plates on the wall.
Yeah. So this is the amendment to S223, so that we already voted on.
Just like we did with, the one in the calendar today.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is a little different. Grady had done it this way. There's another kind of standard contingency where we just pull out we just say that you don't have to do this unless there's an appropriation. This language allows them to do it without the appropriations. Like if they want to do it, not like if they want to have their working groups and nobody get paid the per diems, this way they could still do that. So the notwithstanding that first provision, that's the provision that says they shall get paid their per diem. But we're saying, notwithstanding that you have to get paid, you're not gonna get paid unless we put money in the budget.
Okay.
But the appointments still happen, like the committee on
Yeah,
committees
the-
will still happen.
The committee still gets formed, and then they can decide,
If they
I
want.
guess the person that gets appointed, they should be told that they won't get paid. But it's $14,000, so the hope is that we find the money. But if we don't,
Pretty high bar.
Still holding out hope.
14,000,
definitely.
yeah.
Or
And
they could
then
meet fewer times.
Senator
Yes,
Watson has to
yes.
remember, while we're building the budget, that we need to put the
Yes.
$14,000.
All reminder.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah,
the-
because you're such a supporter of the bill, you would hate to see that not happen. Okay, if there's no questions about that, people are still fine with our vote of that, we can adjourn for the week.